Do you remember that video by the YouTuber named Shawn?
I only know based on his accent. I think he's from the UK, but no, I know very little about him other than he makes good videos on YouTube.
Now, by good videos, well, like tell us, just give us a hint of the production value. Can we look at like some of that Jimmy Dore video he did? Just pull that up. Yeah, I mean, they're well thought out video essays, right? Like, I mean, he's not making major.
Right. Like one thing that he does is he uses a image for himself. He doesn't actually video himself speaking, right? So it is like almost a podcast on YouTube in certain respects in that way. There's visual element where he put up data and stuff like that.
Yeah, put it up. And it's basically like a PowerPoint thing that he narrates. Do you have it, Bradley? Yeah, just put up anything. It doesn't matter. I just want to show the quality of this. It's good. I saw this video. I watched the whole thing.
And bags and hats and shirts and so on. Now, you might say, hold up there a second, Shawn. Maybe this is an unfair criticism. Maybe this has nothing to do with money or chasing views. Maybe this is just a coincidence. Maybe Jimmy Dore just genuinely believes in the anti-vaccine arguments he feels compelled to share with the world. Maybe he's just not heard good counter-arguments yet. And I will admit that this is a possibility. A slight possibility. So, let's take a look at some of these arguments then. The first video I want to look at is titled Outbreak.
So he's just going through different Jimmy Dore videos. And Jimmy Dore, in response to this video that was put out there, it's about an hour-long video, got about 620,000 views. Jimmy Dore responded by firing his producer, who had changed the rewritten an article that Jimmy Dore was citing to prove his sort of vaccine questioning stance. Now, Jimmy didn't respond to
doing his job, as far as I can tell.
Exactly. And Jimmy Dore didn't address the other issues in the video, but it was all basically showing that Dore either never reads anything or, is disingenuous. I mean, all stuff that I think, no one's really refuted as far as I can see. But this really takes the cake. Jimmy Dore had Max Blumenthal on, who is from the gray zone. And this is where, we're entering into the Alex Jones territory. It's one thing to say, I don't know, I guess to attack Shawn's video because it was too specific or too narrow or that it was the producer's fault, but that's not what they did. This is just full-on bizarre.
And then you have Shawn, who made a video about you, attacking you, who I actually didn't know he was affiliated with BreadTube, but he's considered part of their constellation. And the video attacking you, which relies heavily...
I guess I didn't see this whole video. They're talking about BreadTube. Matt, what is BreadTube?
I'm actually Googling BreadTube now. I mean, I know basically what it is. It's a bunch of people who are leftists that do videos, I guess, like Shawn, that are leftists on YouTube, as far as I know. Like the surfs are BreadTube, I'm pretty sure. Like that.
Call themselves BreadTube, or did somebody else refer to them as BreadTube?
I think they sort of call themselves BreadTube. They have their own Wikipedia, I guess, now. But yeah, so they're sort of like it's a loose affiliation of sort of left-wingers on making videos on YouTube.
And somebody just IM'd said, Risk Imagination said, don't let Shawn go under-recognized for how much of the source materials he combs through. While his end production is minimal lift, he reads articles referenced in its subject matter, and more impressively, he watched hundreds of hours of Dore's show. No easy task. Without a doubt. That's the thing. That video he did was, the production value was just sort of like, okay, it was competent. But what's really amazing about that video is he goes deep, deep, deep into some of that stuff, particularly in terms of like the vaccine efficacy and how it's developed. I mean, stuff like you learn some science, and it's all referenced, but it really is about Jimmy Dore's presentation. That's what it was. So here is the Max Blumenthal talking about BreadTube, which I guess Shawn is loosely affiliated with. I'm not sure what that means, but I mean, are we technically loosely affiliated with BreadTube?
Well, BreadTube comes from like a Peter Kropotkin thing, and I'm more of on the communist than the anarchist side of things. So I wouldn't say BreadTube personally, but I guess probably right. It's a big. I mean, the way Max talks about it, we definitely are part of it.
Okay. Well, do we get like any type of like? Do we get a card or something like that, or?
Well, we get a CIA paycheck, I think, is what we're going to find out.
All right. Well, let's check it out.
Unofficial sources. You know, the FDA says that. The World Health Organization says that.
Go back. He relies on official sources like the FDA says this but really what he's doing is just sort of showing that, well, Jimmy Dore rewrote an article from, what was it, like, I don't know, Fortune magazine or somewhere, I can't remember. All right, go ahead.
About you, attacking you, who I actually didn't know he was affiliated with BreadTube, but he's considered part of their constellation. And the video attacking you, which relies heavily on official sources, you know, the FDA says that, the World Health Organization says that. It looks a lot like this countering pseudoscience material, and it was very strategically placed. It was algorithmically boosted on YouTube.
Oh, it was definitely algorithmically boosted on YouTube. No fucking doubt about that. That they was given the favored treatment on YouTube, the CIA and the intelligence, beholden that Google and YouTube, they're in bed with the fucking intelligence community. Of course they are. Google, Alphabet.
Pause it. Okay, so some IMers are writing, BreadTube is more of a signifier used by audiences less than channels themselves. You could be argued to associate with BreadTube, but there's no official BreadTube, and nobody on the left calls them. If we did, it's all tongue in cheek. It comes from a subreddit page that collected left-wing YouTube video essays, but people don't really call themselves BreadTube. Okay, so and the bread in BreadTube refers to
Sounds like a CIA sort of misinformation IMs are coming in here. I think BreadTube is actually a lot more structured than this.
You could be right. The CIA is probably watching because they use us as a vessel to talk about what the FDA said. Apparently, it's the conquest of bread. Omicron says. Well, anyways, but so it was algorithmically. What did they say? Enhanced. Can you go to Shawn's page and see how much algorithmic enhancement they gave it? Sometimes you can order those late night TV. You can order some algorithmic enhancement, I think, right? Male algorithmic enhancement.
It's totally algorithmically enhanced.
Let's see. You know what? I think it might have been. Zoom in a little bit on that because. Well, no, wait a second. His popular ones got like one go down a little bit. Let's see.
The bell curve one is classic. The PragerU lies. Like Shawn puts out bangers all the time.
It's weird that they decided. Well, they're obviously just going after people like Sargon of Akkad. The CIA definitely wants to take that dude out.
Oh yeah, the CIA definitely wants to go after work of Charles Murray, who I think was a CIA asset back in the day.
Of course. Scroll down a little bit. So it appears, keep going up. Now go, no, don't go. Just go to videos. Go back. Yeah. All right. So Jimmy Dore's got 620,000. And the response to BBC transphobia got 453,000. The first part. Hijacking the dead, Terry Pratchett. Hiroshima. Dropping the bomb, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The CIA wanted to juice that. That got 1.3, well, twice as many views as the Jimmy Dore one, because of course the CIA wants to promote the idea that it wasn't necessary to drop a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Of course.
Top CIA priority.
YouTube also wants to promote this dramatically. Of course. All right, let's get back to this and see how the CIA is juicing Shawn's numbers because they want to take out Jimmy Dore. Now, I know that sounds like what I just said was a joke. That's not a joke. Go back a little bit so that we get we can really savor what these guys are trying to argue here.
Organization says that. It looks a lot like this countering pseudoscience material, and it was very strategically placed. It was algorithmically boosted on YouTube.
Oh, it was
So-
definitely algorithmically boosted on YouTube. No fucking doubt about that. That they was given the favored treatment on YouTube. The CIA and intelligence beholden that Google and YouTube, they're in bed with the fucking intelligence community. Of course they are. Google, Alphabet, the biggest fucking largest, most profitable communications company in the history of the fucking world. Any company, of course they are. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupt you. But yes, that was when, as soon as I read this story, I'm like, oh, that's, they funded this shit, that hit job on me, because it was super professionally done. It looked like it had to have some resources behind it. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, feel free to interrupt. We
Keep that up. The idea that somebody's going to read or actually do some research, there's a lot of resources behind that. I mean, I do this show every day, and Jimmy's out there like, just get a comedy show together. It takes a lot of resources. I don't even read any of the stuff I do. I just, I'll read a tweet.
You need a whole team in Langley to figure out that I'm spreading bullshit about the vaccine.
Yeah. The idea that the CIA is using Shawn to attack Jimmy Dore. Do you understand how completely bat crap crazy this is? And these guys either believe it or are just willing to say it.
Yeah.
You know how demented this idea is? That the CIA is trying to take out Jimmy Dore because of his anti-vax. Well, how about this? If the CIA is in bed with YouTube and Google, and I have no doubt that they use data and what the CIA is, I have no doubt. But if the CIA is instructing YouTube to algorithmically enhance a Shawn video about Jimmy Dore, why don't they just go to YouTube and go, hey, guys, the guy's been doing misinformation, just cut him off.
Yeah. Hey, instead of juicing Shawn's video, can you make it so when he does anti-vax videos, it doesn't actually juice his subscribers? Like we can see that it does.
Or this, you would think the CIA could say to YouTube, just get rid of him. Like Twitter just got rid of Marjorie Taylor Greene. You can get rid of Jimmy Dore. His 100,000, YouTube hits or 200,000, whatever it is, they're not going to do anything about it. Why wouldn't they do that? This is like the whole like birther thing. Like he forged the live certificate of birth, but he can't forge the birth certificate.
Yeah.
He's got superpowers that allow him to do X, but not to do the most basic thing in the world, which is Y.
You deploy BreadTube before you pull down the real hammer.
All right, let's hear a little more of this.
Know how intelligence in the UK and US operates since the end of the Cold War. They operate through cutouts and assets. They don't want to take credit directly.
They're doing the same thing now with COVID. So anybody who has a counter narrative to COVID, they get money from these people to do a hit job, which is exactly what they did on me. So funny. The whole thing is that Jimmy Dore is a grifter. That's the whole thing. He doesn't really believe what he's saying. He's just saying this for clicks. And it's like, why would I do this? There's a lot of easier ways to fucking make money than trying to get your channel taken down, have the CIA fucking fund people to do videos about you.
I got news for you. Jimmy Dore has no other way of making money. Jimmy Dore has never made more money in his life than he has made in promoting things like Seth Rich and Clinton's got Parkinson's and all of it. He's never made a dime more in his life. This is the easiest way that he's going to make money. In fact, it's probably the only way that Jimmy Dore can make money. He's found his audience and he's riding it all the way in.
Yeah, it gets interest from venture capitalists too. And the other thing I would just say is like Max Blumenthal about like official sources and stuff like that. Max is when he's talking about silence narrative, he's talking about that Great Barrington Declaration from those American Institute of Economic Research folks, which is like a big libertarian think tank that's like, okay, if that's who we're going to put forward as who's being silenced, the same people, the same exact line that the Wall Street Journal has on those folks. Like, great.
There was a great story that was done in conjunction with the Daily Poster by Walter Bragman and Alex Koch. Maybe we can put a link to this. How the Koch brother network and I've talked about Hillsdale College before, has basically overtaken and financed a lot of this war on COVID. And we should say the war on COVID. They don't want testing. They don't want, and to be fair, the Biden administration is completely capitulated on this front. The word is now go back to work. Go back to work. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, these people got what they want.
Yeah, they got exactly what they want. We're going to pretend like it doesn't exist. But the fact remains, the reason why there's all these airline, that the reason why they did that 5-day CDC thing was because they wanted people who work on airlines to be able to get back to work quicker because they were getting COVID, they were being kept, and they were staying away. That's what's going on. It is the libertarians, the business interests that want to pretend that COVID is not real because they don't want it to cut into their profits. That's what's going on. And the idea that the CIA is funding this video essayist, Shawn, to take out Jimmy Dore, it is hard for me to come up with something more ridiculous than that. It honestly is. Like I was going to say, like, that there are little green men who visit the planet. But no, I think that's actually more plausible than the idea that the CIA is using Shawn to take out Jimmy Dore. Honestly, it's hard for me to come up with anything that's less plausible than that. Why would they just get rid of his channel? Who are they? Who would care? It's crazy. Really crazy. Ban Don Gino. Don't worry, the rest of the Gray Zone video, Gray Zone story was as practically as spurious as to what Jimmy got into. The Abigail Thorne stuff was just about one PR firm that did anti-Assad media in Syria is now paying YouTubers to put out info in favor of COVID public health measures. I mean, look, I don't think, it is my opinion, that if you're going to do what we do, you should not take that kind of money. It should be very clear. I'm doing sponsored content in this moment. Like very clear. And not just, we have a little thing that says sponsored content here. It should be like the nature of the content. Like when I do an ad for, Liquid IV or whatever it is, I say sponsored content. Now, because of the nature of the show that we do here too, like I got to make sure that either A, I use the stuff, like I like the product. There's maybe some stuff that I even use that I just don't think it's appropriate to promote. Off the top of my head, I don't know what that would be. And then there's also some industries that we just won't do. Won't do like an ad for Uber, or I won't do, financial advice or something like that. I'm not in favor of people taking money to promote COVID information unless it's like an ad. If somebody came to us and said, here's a PSA that we want you to do and we're going to pay you money to do it, and you present it as that, that'd be okay. But I don't know who Abigail Thorne is. I don't know who the PR firm was, and I don't know what she said. All I know is that Jimmy Dore and Max Blumenthal are arguing that the CIA funded Shawn's video as a way of inhibiting Jimmy Dore in some way, and that is bat crap crazy. And that, yes, that, in my mind, puts a question mark on anything they tell me in the future.
Yeah, the CIA definitely wants to put an end to the show that said, I want a Lava Jato t-shirt.
I mean, come on, give me a break. Like, how is that not obvious to people? How is it not obvious that like there are some things that just begin to undercut the credibility of people?
Well, it's pathetic damage control, and it's them playing to a different kind of audience, I think. Rockfin.
Kid tested, Politburo approved. At least I'd like a newsletter update next time you get a money bump from NATO. Geez. Yeah, we brought on Stephen Wertheim on the show to talk about how we should begin to get rid of NATO as a way of promoting NATO. It's like that old think of an elephant or try not to think of an elephant. Happiness is a warm coconut gun. I've been listening to MR for over 10 years, and it's extremely disappointing to see how dishonest you're being about that Dore clip. The main subject that Gray Zone interview was Abigail Thorne and her YouTube channel being funded by Valiant Projects. Why not mention that? Weird. Because I don't know who Abigail Thorne is, and I don't care. You should have the numbers. One BreadTuber Vouch on your show. He has some very interesting opinions on CP. I don't know what CP is. Is who? But the bottom line is, I'm not addressing what they said. The idea that they presented some legitimate information about Valiant Projects and Abigail Thorne, do I think that the CIA funds some YouTube things or has like a media disinformation campaign? Of course, because I've read a book. I'm not addressing that. I'm addressing the idea that Jimmy Dore is being targeted by the CIA and that they are algorithmically enhancing Shawn's video. That's it. It's not incumbent upon me to go through every moment of Jimmy Dore's material and say, this stuff may be valid.
Particularly when we know what Jimmy Dore is using this to avoid addressing about Shawn's actual video and the complaints. He fired a guy and as a scapegoat instead of addressing all of the misinformation he's been peddling. So spare me about addressing like the full context of things.
Yeah. I mean, it's absurd. It may be the case. People can go watch the rest of the video. There may be some stuff in there that is true. I know that Max's name is Max, that Jimmy's name is Jimmy. That's true. I didn't give them credit for that. It's true. I didn't say. They got their names right. I mean, it's just nuts. I'm sorry. That's nuts. I'm sure there's some material that they deliver that is accurate. I'm sure. But that wasn't what I was commenting on.